95% of the ocean remains unexplored. What is something you think may be there? Old Ben. This morning, I saw a post saying it was 80%. How did we undiscover 15% in a day? Turns out the vast swaths of water they thought was new turned out to be the old water. I don't know, but I just watched the James Cameron doc where he goes into the Mariana Trench, and he discovered 89 new species on that expedition. It tripped me out when they'd flash a light in the darkness 36,000 feet down, and the fish were the most vibrant colors you've ever seen. What do the fish see down there? What does the light do to the creatures that live in darkness? I've always been fascinated by deep-sea gigantism. There's also these creatures that are swarms of identical jelly-like clones of themselves that, as a whole mass, would make them some of the biggest living organisms on Earth. They look horrifying too. Each one is unique, and they have no real uniform look. Just massive and terrifying. Only a few have been sighted, but there will undoubtedly be huge versions of these. Where can I find more info on this horrifying and fascinating thing? I believe one type is called siphonophores, but I've seen deep-sea videos on YouTube before of super large masses, and they look like large alien blobs. Struggling to find it now, but I'll keep searching. Exciting prediction. Some life form we haven't noticed that again defies what we understand about what life can look like / maybe a large organism covering miles of the ocean floor similar to Pando, but obviously not a tree note. I have no reason to think this exists aside from knowing stuff like this exists on Earth. Who knows? Boring prediction. Deep-sea resources to exploit. Realistically, probably some extreme biological thing we haven't discovered, the Venus flytrap of undersea life. I imagine like the air pockets in kelp to let the sun hit the leaves there. Here's like a mammal under there who gets to have one giant breath, and just frog croaks the thing for its whole life back and forth until it lets it all out to make the next generation or something crazy. Unrealistically, they're a foreign submarine camp with a city and its own oxygen maker trying to kidnap wee boys who scuba dive too deep. Most likely, a shit ton of plastic. Most exciting, the ruins of an ancient civilization. Actually, it's highly plausible. Sea level has varied quite a bit over history. You probably heard of the Bering Strait land bridge that allowed humans to populate the Americas around 20,000 years ago. Back then the oceans was around 130 meters shallower. Humans like to build their towns and cities near water. So anything built on the coast 20,000 years ago is now under 130 meters of water. In Vancouver, they've traced a line of middens back 100 meters from shore, and the line of middens continued beyond that. That was just as deep as they could reasonably explore. The Black Sea has tons of underwater buildings from thousands of years ago. So does Siberia. Heck, Gibraltar has underwater caves filled with Neanderthal artifacts. Underwater archaeology is an almost brand new science. There's new discoveries every day. Still no sign of Atlantis, though. Alien structures with aliens living inside. There's been so many reports of UFO flying saucers popping out from bodies of water. If someone told me that entire cities were underwater hidden away, where humans can't see or go, I'd believe it in a heartbeat. Probably a weird fish that bleeds milk from its eyes or something. I'm pretty sure there's a type of giant shark in the deep ocean that lives a ridiculously long time. Side effect of larger creatures is they are ridiculously efficient. But due to it evolving to live in the dark, it no longer really needs its eyes that much. Over time, worms begin to live in its eyes, and that's just how it lives for decades, if not centuries. Just swimming around in a dark abyss with worms trailing from its eyes. Gigantic creatures resembling woodlice is another cool one. Air France Flight 447 from Sao Paulo to Paris disappeared in June 2009. It was an Airbus A330, one of which I was to fly in July to London. It took a while to find the wreckage. I remember a map of the debris field, and it had notes like right main landing gear and left engine. Only big solid things stayed intact. Also noted was 55-gallon drum unrelated. They'd plopped this A330 down hard enough to be mostly nothing but fragments, but in their bit of ocean floor was some pre-existing oil drum. There's a lot of shit down there. I know this point gets repeated a lot, but TBH probably not much. Just try to imagine an ocean floor, and you'd probably guessed what's down there. Sure, there might be some exotic fish, but they're not going to be exquisitely exotic. They're still going to be earthlings, and be related to other species. Otherwise, there will just be water. The percent of unexplored ocean is extremely misleading. People see this statistic, and it brings about shock, and all like, wow, I wonder what's down there, and why haven't we explored it? Well, first of all, if you have ever been down to the ocean, you would know there's miles and miles of absolutely nothing, seriously hundreds of miles of sand under the water. Do you want them to start digging? When people say these things, I think what they really mean is the deepest trenches that we don't actually have the technology to go down to because it's pitch black and the weight and pressure of the ocean is insane. It's more difficult than going to space by a long shot. What do I think we would find if we had indestructible subs with night vision that can quietly adventure into the deepest trenches of the Earth's ocean? Nothing, a bunch of miles of nothing, and maybe a few weird-looking sea creatures that evolved to survive under massive pressure and darkness. That's why people haven't explored, for one, lack of interest, and the people who have found a lot of nothing. Also, scientists can accurately predict that there is probably a lot of nothing. It's just not worth the investment. I like to imagine there is a sentient sponge living happily in a pineapple. He has a complex relationship with a squid and impressively holds a full-time job despite his various mental deficits. His best friend is a starfish who, surprisingly, does not live in a pineapple, but rather under a rock because he likes it there. They discovered the extinct fish coelacanth off the shores of South Africa not too long ago. So, it could be possible some other fish or crustaceans assumed to be extinct are alive down there. Though, I doubt any of the large ones could live due to the fact prey has gotten too small to feed a megalodon and creatures like it. Literally just water. Most of the unexplored areas of the ocean are just unexplored because we can see from satellite imagery that it's just water, or because there's literally zero incentive for scientists to explore there. You need funds to explore the ocean, and no one is going to waste them without a good reason to explore. A mutated underwater type of spider that is see-through. I heard a story about this transparent or translucent spider that mutated due to radiation and was found alive in a room. A F-mutated see-through spider. I really hope the Kraken's down there somewhere. He makes my favorite rum. That and lots of sea monkeys living in little sea monkey family rooms, chillin' on the sofa watching TV. Here's the thing, we've explored the whole surface of the ocean. We've explored a great many interesting things on the bottom of it. But most of the ocean is just murky water where anything could be lurking just out of sight. There's a lot of undiscovered stuff down there, but not likely to be much that's a big deal. A million new species of weird fish probably won't change very much, even if we find them all. When my little brother was about 7 or 8, he threw his Batman toy into the ocean to send him on an adventure. Remarkably, we found that same Batman washed up in a pile of seaweed about a half-mile down the shore a month later. Excited, my brother once again tossed Batman into the waves. We never found him again. I'd like to think Batman made it back to shore and was adopted by a family better able to recognize him for the hero he is. He certainly had his share of adventures. I've always been fascinated by deep-sea gigantism. There's also these creatures that are swarms of identical jelly-like clones of themselves that, as a whole mass, would make them some of the biggest living organisms on Earth. They look horrifying too. Each one is unique, and they have no real uniform look. Just massive and terrifying. Only a few have been sighted, but there will undoubtedly be huge versions of these. Old Ben.